My wife checked out of our marriage while I did everything, then I discovered she was cheating with a coworker and pregnant with his child. The marriage was crumbling, but it took time to see it. She stopped engaging with me, barely speaking unless it was about something practical like bills or schedules. The house was my responsibility, cleaning, cooking, grocery shopping, even keeping her family updated on our lives. She didn't lift a finger. Her presence felt like a shadow, there but not really. Months passed with no intimacy, no connection. Then, one morning, while cleaning the bathroom, a positive pregnancy test was in the trash can. It didn't make sense. We hadn't been close in over a year. The discovery hit hard. Confusion set in first, followed by a sinking feeling. The test wasn't old, it was recent, the packaging still crisp. She hadn't mentioned anything about it, hadn't even hinted at wanting kids. The silence between us was already heavy, but this added a new weight. The house was spotless because of my efforts, the meals were on the table because I cooked them, and the bills were paid because I managed them. She was physically there, but emotionally gone. The test raised questions that couldn't be ignored. Looking back, the signs were there. She used to be warm, engaged, someone who laughed easily. That person disappeared over time. Work became her excuse for everything, late nights, missed dinners, her constant exhaustion. I didn't push back. I assumed she was under pressure, that her job demanded more than she could give. I picked up the slack, thinking it was temporary. The pregnancy test shattered that assumption. It wasn't just distance. Something else was happening. The days after finding the test were tense. I didn't bring it up right away. Part of me didn't want to know the truth. The routine continued, me handling the house, her coming home late, offering vague excuses. Her phone was always with her, locked, screen tilted away. I started noticing small things, a new perfume, a jacket I didn't recognize, a quick smile at a text message when she thought I wasn't looking. The pieces were starting to form a picture, but I wasn't ready to face it. The marriage wasn't always like this. We met in college, both driven, both planning a future. She wanted to climb the corporate ladder, and I supported that. I took on more at home so she could focus. Her ambition was one of the things I loved. But somewhere along the way, that ambition seemed to pull her away from us. The pregnancy test was a clue, but not the full story. I needed more to understand what was happening. We met in college, both in our early 20s, full of plans. She was studying business, determined to make it big in marketing. I was in engineering, steady and practical. We clicked because we balanced each other, her drive, my stability. After graduation, we moved in together, got married a year later. The early years were good. We split responsibilities, made time for each other, talked about goals. She wanted a master's degree to boost her career, so I supported her. I worked extra hours to cover bills while she studied. It felt like we were building something together. Her career took off after the degree. She landed a job at a big firm, long hours but good pay. I was proud of her. She was climbing fast, and I didn't mind taking on more at home to help her focus. I started doing most of the cooking and cleaning. When her parents needed help with their house repairs, I handled it. Her dog, which she loved but barely had time for, became my responsibility. I didn't complain. I saw it as teamwork. She was stressed, so I made things easier. The shift was gradual. She started staying late at work, saying it was deadlines or client meetings. I believed her. She'd come home exhausted, barely talk, and go straight to bed. I asked if she was okay, if work was too much. She said it was fine, just temporary. I didn't push. I thought giving her space was the right move. Our conversations became short about logistics, when bills were due, what groceries we needed. Intimacy faded. I missed her, but I didn't know how to bring it up without making her feel pressured. I started noticing her detachment more. She stopped asking about my day, stopped sharing about hers. When I tried to plan date nights, she'd say she was too tired. I suggested a weekend away to reconnect. She said work wouldn't allow it. I kept the house running, paid the bills on time, made sure her favorite coffee was stocked. I thought I was holding us together. Looking back, I was holding it alone. The pregnancy test in the trash was starting to feel like a piece of a bigger puzzle. The distance grew worse over time. She was physically in the house but not present. I'd cook dinner, and she'd eat in silence, scrolling her phone. I'd clean the kitchen, and she'd leave dishes in the sink without a word. I took care of her dog's walks, vet appointments, even cleaned up when it got sick. She'd thank me sometimes, but it felt automatic, not genuine. I started feeling like a roommate, not a husband. The house was spotless, the fridge was full, but none of it seemed to matter to her. I wondered if she was struggling mentally. I'd read about burnout, how it could make people withdraw. I asked if she was feeling okay, if she wanted to talk to someone professional. She said she was fine, just tired from work. I suggested couples counseling to work through the distance. She shut it down, said we didn't need it, that she just needed time. I backed off. I didn't want to push her into something she wasn't ready for. I kept up the routine, thinking patience would fix things. Her late nights became more frequent. She'd say she was working on a big project or grabbing drinks with coworkers to network. I didn't question it. I trusted her. She mentioned one coworker's name often, Mark, someone she worked with on campaigns. She described him as a friend, someone who got her sense of humor. I didn't think much of it. She'd always been social, and I wasn't the jealous type. I figured it was good she had people at work to lean on. The pregnancy test changed everything. I couldn't stop thinking about it. I didn't confront her right away because I wasn't sure how to approach it. I started paying closer attention. She was more secretive with her phone, always angling it away. She'd step out of the room to take calls. One night, she left her phone on the counter while showering. A message popped up from Mark. "Miss you already?" My stomach dropped. I didn't touch the phone, but that message stuck with me. The test wasn't a mystery anymore. It was a confirmation. The message from Mark on her phone was a turning point. It wasn't just a suspicion anymore. The pregnancy test, her distance, the late nights, it all started to connect. I didn't sleep that night. I kept replaying the past year, trying to pinpoint when things changed. I thought about the dinners I cooked that she barely touched, the weekends I spent alone while she was working, the way she stopped looking at me. I felt like an idiot for not seeing it sooner. I was doing everything to keep the marriage alive, and she was building a life with someone else. I started paying closer attention to her routine. She was out most evenings, claiming it was work or drinks with colleagues. Her stories were vague, and she never offered details. I noticed she was dressing differently, new clothes, more effort in her appearance. She'd leave the house with a quick goodbye, no explanation. I didn't confront her yet. I needed more than a text message and a pregnancy test to be sure. But the trust was gone. Every time she walked out the door, I wondered where she was really going. I started checking small things. Her car had more miles on it than it should have for just work and back. Receipts in her purse showed dinners at restaurants she never mentioned. I found a parking stub from a hotel downtown, dated a week earlier. I wasn't proud of snooping, but I needed answers. The evidence was piling up, and it wasn't pointing to a rough patch in our marriage. It was pointing to betrayal. I kept it all in a folder, not sure what I'd do with it but knowing I needed proof. The house felt emptier than ever. I was still cooking, cleaning, taking care of her dog, but it was mechanical. I stopped trying to talk to her about our day or our future. She didn't notice. One night, she came home late, smelling of wine and perfume. She didn't say anything, just went to bed. I sat in the living room, staring at the folder of receipts and the pregnancy test I'd kept. I knew I couldn't keep pretending everything was fine. The truth was close, and I had to face it. I decided to confront her, but I waited for the right moment. A few days later, she left her phone on the kitchen counter while she was in the shower. Another message from Mark popped up. "Can't wait for us to be a family." That was it. I couldn't wait anymore. When she came out, I was sitting at the table, the pregnancy test in front of me. She froze when she saw it. I asked her whose it was. She didn't answer at first, just stood there, looking at the floor. She finally sat down and admitted everything. She was pregnant, and it wasn't mine. She'd been seeing Mark for months. It started as drinks after work, then turned into something more. She said she didn't mean for it to happen, that she was unhappy and felt trapped in our marriage. I asked why she never talked to me, why she let me carry everything while she checked out. She said she didn't know, that she felt disconnected and Mark made her feel wanted. It wasn't an apology, just an explanation. I asked how long she planned to hide it. She said she was going to tell me after she figured things out. She didn't want to hurt me, she claimed, but she was already planning a future with him. I felt numb. All the work I'd put into the marriage, every meal, every bill, every sacrifice, was for nothing. She'd been living a double life while I was trying to save us. I told her I was done. I didn't yell or argue. I just said I couldn't stay. That night, I packed a bag with clothes and essentials. She didn't try to stop me. She sat on the couch, staring at her phone, as I walked out. I drove to a hotel and checked in. The room was small, but it felt like the first time I could breathe in months. I didn't sleep much, but I felt a strange clarity. The marriage was over. I'd given everything, and she'd given nothing back. I wasn't going to beg her to care. I was ready to let go. The hotel room was a temporary escape, but it gave me space to think. I spent the first few days replaying the marriage in my head. Every moment I'd spent keeping the house together, every late night I waited for her, every time I excused her distance, it all felt wasted. I wasn't angry yet, just empty. I'd poured everything into the relationship, and she'd walked away without a second thought. The pregnancy, the affair, her excuses, it was too much to process at once. I started looking for a new place to live. I couldn't go back to the house. It wasn't just hers now, it was theirs. I found a small apartment close to my job, signed a lease, and moved what little I'd taken with me. The new place was bare, just a bed, a table, and a few boxes, but it was mine. I didn't have to clean up after anyone else or cook for someone who didn't care. For the first time in years, I was only responsible for myself. She tried to contact me a few times after I left. Her messages were short, mostly about practical things like splitting bills or what to do with the house. There was no apology, no attempt to explain herself further. One message stood out. She said I'd made her feel stifled, and that I was too focused on routine. It stung because I'd only taken on those routines to support her career. I didn't respond. I wasn't interested in her justifications. I hired a lawyer to start the divorce process. The paperwork was straightforward since we didn't have kids or major shared assets. I wanted it done quickly. I didn't care about the house or the furniture. She could keep it all. I just wanted out. My lawyer advised me to document everything: her affair, the pregnancy, the receipts I'd found. It wasn't about revenge, it was about protecting myself. I sent him the folder I'd been keeping. It felt like closing a chapter. The divorce process moved faster than I expected. My lawyer was efficient, and since we had no kids or complicated assets, there wasn't much to fight over. I didn't want the house, the car we shared, or anything tied to her. I took my personal belongings, clothes, my laptop, a few books, and left the rest. The house was full of memories I didn't want to carry. She could deal with it, or Mark could. It wasn't my problem anymore. I signed the papers and felt a weight lift, even if it was small. She reached out again after the divorce was filed. Her messages were longer this time, but still not apologies. She said I'd been too focused on keeping things together, and that I didn't give her enough excitement. She claimed Mark understood her in a way I never did. It was hard to read, not because I wanted her back, but because it showed how little she valued what I'd done. I'd built a stable life for us, and she saw it as boring. I blocked her number after that. I didn't need her rewriting our history. I settled into the new apartment. It was small, but I liked the simplicity. I bought a few basics: a couch, a coffee maker, some dishes. I started cooking for myself, trying new recipes instead of the ones I used to make for her. I took up running in the mornings, something I hadn't done in years. It wasn't about reinventing myself, it was about remembering who I was before I lost myself in the marriage. I felt stronger, not just physically but mentally. Work became a focus. I'd been coasting at my job, too consumed with home to push for more. I started taking on new projects, staying late not because I had to but because I wanted to. My boss noticed, and I got a small promotion. It wasn't life-changing, but it was a step. For the first time in a long time, I was building something for myself. The divorce wasn't final yet, but I was already moving forward. She was in the past, and I wasn't looking back.